Okay, it's time for another bit of Nailsin ratings. Well, not exactly rating anything, I guess. A bit of a special report on the DCEU. That's the letters for the DC Comics cinematic universe, if you will. They call it that so it won't sound like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So we got to be different because we're doing superhero movies while they're doing superhero movies. So it's all very silly. So far, DC, of course, is the underdog, and Marvel are the cool kids. And of course, that atmosphere, I think, has created a bit of groupthink when it comes to the lens upon which these movies are seen. So we begin with Man of Steel, which was originally supposed to just be a Superman movie, and that's it, not a tentpole. That was after the fact. So a lot of people blame Zack Snyder for the failure of the DCU. He doesn't deserve it. There's a lot of manipulation going on with the movies that he's done. And that even begins with Man of Steel, which is arguably the most closest to his vision of what he wanted to do with these characters than anything else, because Batman vs. Superman is not the movie he wanted to do. That was completely ordered by Warner Brothers. He borrows from Dark Knight Returns, and a lot of times I thought, boy, should have just done Dark Knight Returns and said this is in the future, and then the other movies of the DCU tell the story that happened before that. Might have went better. The extended cut of Batman vs. Superman is far better. It makes more sense, but it's a problematic movie. It has some pretty serious plot holes in it, and I can only recommend it if you're a hardcore DC fan. There's plenty in there for you to enjoy. But the extended cut, not the theatrical cut, that's not worth wasting your time on. Then there was Suicide Squad, which was just a slap job. I think the writer only had 6 weeks to come up with the script. So it looks just like that. It starts off pretty good. The introductions are all great, and the backstories and everything, but then it's just complete garbage. There's no plot whatsoever. Suicide Squad is basically the bottom of the barrel of these movies. Then you get Wonder Woman, which finally is clearly a smash hit. It had a lot of good feeling hype going forward, very similar to what we're seeing now with Black Panther, but which I haven't seen yet because I see movies very late, because I can't stand cell phones and whatnot in movie theaters, so that's why I gotta wait till the crowd thins. But with Wonder Woman, it was a great film. It is the best of these movies, just hands down, and so it deserves a lot of the praise it's receiving. Then Justice League comes, which of course was a failure. Now, Justice League doesn't deserve the hatred it's getting. Again, I think this goes to the groupthink lens of its failures, but in the original plot that Zack Snyder again had it's just far superior to what you're seeing on there. I need your fear as the reason for Steppenwolf to come is just really bad. That's the worst part of it. Then, of course, the mustache, the digital mustache remover. Just add insult to injury. Really bad. But overall, I enjoyed it. Now, going into it, like again, I see movies late, so already I'd heard this movie is horrible. So I go in expecting to see this disaster, and I'm sitting there thinking, well, when does this start to get really bad? And it never did. I was surprised by the performance, especially the Flash, who I expected not to like because I didn't really care for the actor in the interviews he gave. It was just a real douche. But he did very well. I can't deny the performance he gave. It's not the Flash that I know from the comics and everything, but for the context of the film, he worked. And so I was surprised. I was pleasantly surprised. I enjoyed Aquaman. Again, he's not Aquaman. Jason Momoa, the performance sounds more closer to someone like Lobo, but he was good. I enjoyed it for the context of the film, and the same goes for Cyborg, which I didn't give any thought to at all. And I thought he did really well. There had been talks of a Cyborg movie, and now I'm thinking, yeah, that could probably work, but maybe not, because the the popular opinion is that there's nothing good about this movie. So I enjoyed all that, but nevertheless, it's undeniable that it was a failure, and the DC universe was in trouble. All they have is Wonder Woman, and that's it. They have a Batman actor who apparently doesn't want to do Batman anymore. They took the movie away from him. He's Ben Affleck's got his own problems, so there's that. And on top of all of this, so what to do? Well, there were movies already on schedule to appear. So following Justice League, you got Aquaman, which will be coming out this year. That's pretty much done. Then that'll be followed with Shazam, the original Captain Marvel, Zachary Levi in the role. And then, of course, Wonder Woman 2, which these are guaranteed. These will happen. So we know that. So after that, what? And lots banking on these films. And again, I always go back to lowered expectations can help a movie. So if the movie is just adequate, you'll sit through it and think, good movie. When it probably really wasn't all that good, but it was adequate enough and it surpassed what you expected it to be, which was bad. But that doesn't always work. I went in to Last Jedi with lowered expectations, and they were even lower when I left. That movie is a steaming pile of crap, and there's no two ways about it. But you can't say the same about Justice League. You really, I should do a whole video just on that, Justice League versus Last Jedi. But anyway, back to the state of the DCEU is bad. And so what the performances of these films will be paramount and very important. However, that's what we know, what will come out, Aquaman, Shazam, and Wonder Woman 2. And that leaves, well, what's after that? Well, according to the Hollywood Reporter, from whatever insiders they spoke to, they're saying that The Flash and Batgirl will be the next two movies that are looking to come. Now, The Flash doesn't surprise me. The Flash has been talked about for quite some time, and but they went through several directors, whatever, relationships just didn't work out, and scripts were rejected, who knows. And then the rumor was it's going to be called Flashpoint, which is based on this DC Comics series, which rebooted their whole DC Comics universe a few years back, and they're since rebooting it yet again. This happens. And so the idea is that, they're going to reboot the DCEU with Flashpoint, which is one of these time warp stories where everything's different at the end, where the Flash, in an attempt to prevent his mother's murder from happening, changes time, and the whole world is different and all this sort of thing. And one of the ideas is that, this could be a way for Ben Affleck to exit the DCU universe. Because he is contractually obligated to appear in this film. So, assuming his Batman will be there, or at least Bruce Wayne. And then by the end, you have Batman appear, but it's a different actor. So, you see, but that's scientifically accurate. If your parents, for whatever reason, conceived you on a different day than they normally did, the child may have your name, but it's not you. It's a different version. Because, it's a lot of different DNA floating around. Then the rumor is that Jake Gyllenhaal's in the running to replace Ben Affleck and all that. So you might see something like that, and in the hopes that they'll move on with a different look and vision of the DC Universe than what they've had before. It's much ado, way too much to do that, I think. I don't think that's really necessary. You just move forward and make your damn scripts good. But they may have to do a little more. So I'm on the fence about this. They may be right in doing something like this, if they're even doing it. I don't know. It might just be a Flash movie and that's it. But they may have to do it because, like I said, I go back to the lowered expectations, but there's a different thing going on here with DC movies because, like I said, they're the nerds and the Marvel are the cool kids. So the DC is going to have to do much harder work to get their audience, or to get the movie audience, rather, than Marvel does. And so the movies can't just be good. They got to be great for the people to say they're good. You see? So... So The Flash is going to have to be really good, and so the same is true of the three movies that are guaranteed to come. gee, I hope they're good. But because then another flop followed by another one is just going to be one too many nails in that coffin. So a lot riding on the Flash, and you're going to have to be a lot faster than normal to wow the audience. You can't just be good. The other movie, which is odd, well, maybe not necessarily, because they brought in Joss Whedon with the promise of his own Batgirl movie, and so Batgirl is the other movie that they're saying would be one of these films that will follow these main three that are definite. And Batgirl doesn't strike me as all that popular and whatnot. There's even talk of a Nightwing film and stuff. And I don't know, maybe they just want to expand on the Batman name, but if you want to use Batman, use Batman. There's talk of a Joker movie, but there's no mention of Batman being in it. That just doesn't make any sense to me at all. Now, Batgirl has some amount of recognition, and it's Joss Whedon, and to that crowd it might play to. But I got to tell you, Joss Whedon, he earned his name with Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It set a standard, but the problem is everybody's been copying it ever since, and I'm sick to death of it. I don't know that I want to see Batgirl the Vampire Slayer, but, we'll see. I'm not that excited about Batgirl as I am, like Wonder Woman or something like that, more of an established rather than a derivative character of the main character, which is Batman. So I don't know. It's kind of odd that they would be pushing for that when they really should rush in something that's more bankable and figure out, the workings there. So again, yeah, the Batman movie had been announced for quite some time, and the problems with Ben Affleck probably derailed it. And so now they have Matt Reeves of the Planet of the Apes fame, and obviously has earned his respect in a capable director. So that should be interesting. And it's plus the rumor is that it's set like in an earlier time for this version of the Batman. So it would argue that there could be a different actor playing him there because they'd be younger and that sort of thing. So, and that'd probably be, they'll just go forward from there with Affleck is definitely out. So fine, whatever. But I'm a little troubled that we don't hear anything more and there doesn't seem to be any movement on it. And we're going to have a Batgirl movie before we have a Batman movie. And I'm not really understanding the thinking in that. And so now I'm worried, are they can't agree on what kind of Batman story they want to tell, and so I don't know. It sounds like there might be some trouble there. I don't know. Another rumor was that we would get a Superman movie if the Justice League movie had been a success and they were going to announce it. Now there's been nothing. There's no announcement. The only rumor about Superman I've heard is that he might appear in the Shazam movie, which would be great. But I'm again troubled that there's no mention of a Superman, because I would like to see that. I don't think, again, with these Superman actors, and I even say this about Brandon Routh before, Henry Cavill, I don't blame him for the failure of Superman Returns. I blame the director and the writer of that script, and Cavill too, and that he can only do with what you give him. So there's a lot of this that Superman's moody and he doesn't seem, he doesn't seem like Superman, and you see elements of that in the Justice League film. Finally, it's a little too short and sweet and sometimes comes across way too cheesy, but you can see there's a range to what Cavill could do. And now I understand what the point of the Man of Steel was, that he was new, he was fresh, he hadn't been Superman yet, so it's understandable, it fits. That's why they needed a Superman 2 to follow that rather than Batman versus Superman. But another Warner Brothers mistake. Thank you, Mr. Sugihara. People blame Zack Snyder. No, it's Sugihara. And that's what, let me round this up with Zack Snyder. Another rumor is that he didn't leave the Justice League because his daughter committed suicide. That did happen, of course, and it was this horrible tragedy that he suffered. But apparently he had been fired from the film before this happened, and Warner Brothers just used the news of this death to kind of save face for why he left, rather than saying, well, we just fired him. They apparently did not like his cut of Justice League, and they had already ordered the reshoots, and eventually Joss Whedon comes in to handle that. the problem here is, why did you hire him on to Justice League in the first place if you're already upset with his vision and whatnot? Because a lot of the readings of what the cut scenes were and all that in the plot, which makes way more sense than the one that they settled on, is that they do connect to the previous films, which my guess is Warner just wanted to pretend those never happened, which you just can't do at this point with this cast, these stories, and so on and so forth. You might as well start the Justice League. Superman's alive, he never died, and all that sort of thing, you know. So I don't know what happened, and we may never know in time, but it really puts a nasty stain on the executives of Warner Brothers to pull a stunt like that. And it also goes to the point that the problem with the DCEU is Warner Brothers. It's not a particular director or actor. It's Warner Brothers. So now there's a new guy in charge. He oversaw another expanded universe, which is the Conjuring horror movie, which people don't see it that way, but that's what it is. It's split off into spinoffs and all that sort of stuff. So this guy, Hamada, I believe his name is, has some managerial experience of this sort of thing, and hopefully he can pull it together. But like I said, there's some lowered expectations can help, but not always. It certainly didn't help for me in Last Jedi. But these DC movies are going to have to be a lot better than just good in order for people to say they're good. It's not fair entirely, but a lot of the blame goes to Warner Brothers, and the hate for Justice League is unwarranted. It's not a great film, that's true, but hatred, no. And Zack Snyder, a lot of people owe him an apology. He's just being beat up for things that were beyond his control. And very rarely do you hear criticism for things that really was for him. And there are some things he did wrong, I think, but not to the degree that he gets just beaten up. It's a shame. But we've seen the end of Zack Snyder, I'm sure, as far as the DC superheroes. And that's not exactly fair either, but they are moving forward, and this is what we're going to see. I'm a little Flash, I expected, but Batgirl, not so much. I thought they would realize they need to ramp up their star characters, and then a Batgirl movie would be fine. But we'll see. And maybe Aquaman will be great, and Shazam and Wonder Woman will bring it back to where the Flash and Batgirl will be in a more cushy position. And so, everything will be different by then. That's a year away. So we'll see. That's all anyone can ever do. But there's reason to be a little bit worried. I'm a little bit worried about Batman. And even if there is a Superman movie, I don't even know. And that's got me troubled. So there you go. There's my... I'm giving them 3 stars for effort to keeping it alive. Because for a while there, I thought, they're going to scrap everything for just standalones that have nothing to do with an expanded universe and all that. So 3 stars so far for the DCEU or DCU, however you want to put it. Best of luck to them. I'm pulling for them. And we'll see. So anyway, thank you for listening and watching. Please like and subscribe, and look into the descriptions below for my t-shirt stores and video stores where you can purchase goodies that I've made for you. And we'll go to support this and my podcast on RadioMisfits.com. So thanks again for listening and watching. And I'll bid you sweet adieu.
Say, friends, check out Nailsin Theater at sellfy.com/Nailsin. Yes, there you'll find my poor man Mystery Science Theater treatment of public domain movies that really deserve the treatment. Yes, you can head over there and check out the links to my trailers to such films on my YouTube channel. Yeah, you can preview them and then head over back to sellfy.com/Nailsin and purchase yourself some Mr. Nailsin treatments of movies. I'll be right there to guide you through it.